Okay, we step through this, we look at what's going on. And I tried to show you all, and there are certain people that are slowly catching up, so let them catch up. Jackie Lambie jumped up onto the media last week, and obviously Crown Resorts deal is a lot of pressure for these politicians that have no idea what the hell's going on behind the closed doors of Parliament. So they're looking at these people on the other side of the bench, controlling a land deal over Crown Resorts, opening the door to the Chinese again. And you have certain politicians who think that they can save this situation, but they have no idea how. And Jackie Lambie got up in the media and said to everybody that they should whistleblow. And I took this as an opportunity. I took this as an opportunity to ring Jackie Lambie, and instead of going through the usual paces of email our office, blah, 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 I put it to them that they asked for my help. They openly got up on a media platform speaking to the Australian public, asking for people to point out the fact that these politicians in Parliament are unlawful or corrupt. And I'm going to point out that they're unlawful. We have a situation where the Federal Executive Council inside this government has all of the ex-prime ministers that have sat since 1973 in it. And they're the kinds of people that have been pushing a Republican vote on you for the last 60, 70 years, which is actually an act of treason. To constantly attempt to undermine the core law and line of authority and values in your constitution is treason. These people have been continuously trying to undermine you by pushing a Republican vote on you. So Jackie Wilkie, Andrew Wilkie, Jackie Lambie, and your crew of 17, of which I've contacted 9 of so far, you've all now been informed with a massive amount of research, which I'm now backing up with my voice. What if you were the one that committed the treason on my Commonwealth? What if you joined a parliament that was not in the lineage of my Constitution Act? What if that Governor-General issued an oath of allegiance outside of my Constitution Act and into some other entity's Constitution Act? What if Gough Whitlam, through order of the Queen, secret meetings by the Queen, created this entity called Australia and incepted it in 1973, gave it an Order of Australia, gave it a new national anthem, gave it a new oath of allegiance. And you're all in oath of allegiance to that and not the Commonwealth of Australia. And that is linked to the United Nations. So Jackie Lambie, my question to you is, you're fearful of the other side of politics. You can see it in your shakiness and your voice. You can see you're bewildered as to what to do about these colluding politicians. Have you addressed your oath? You took an oath of allegiance. I'm asking you to now go and have a look at the immigration website and look at the Pledge of Allegiance. It's not a Pledge of Allegiance, is it? It's a pledge to Australian law. It has nothing to do with the Constitution or the scheduled oath in that Constitution. The scheduled oath was to the monarch, Queen Victoria. So when you entered Parliament, you took an oath. But you didn't consider what lineage that oath came from. You just took an oath because it was in a wording that seemed right. But I'm telling you it's wrong. And I'm also telling you that what you do through immigration by allowing people to come into this country under a pledge is against the law. They don't come here under an oath of allegiance. They never did. Your Australian citizenship is what caused all of the problems here, and none of them came here on an oath of allegiance. It's that simple. You openly put an oath of allegiance in the constitutions of the law websites, but you openly go against it on your immigration website by making these people take a pledge of citizenship, which is not an oath of allegiance. Interesting question, Jackie. Considering you're sitting there in a parliament watching this government give our land to the Chinese. Interesting question, Jackie, considering that Malcolm Turnbull aligned to steal everyone's bank accounts back in February 2018, and we're starting to see the wheels of that turn today. Interesting question that you took an oath of allegiance that allowed these people to do that to us. Take our money. Take our labour, push the price of our food through the roof, push the price of our fuel through the roof. Fuel's double what it was even 15 years ago. Food's double what it was 15 years ago. My wage, the amount of benefits you give me for being disabled after you injured me, it's fuck all. You don't care about us. What you do in that parliament is divvy profit plunder amongst all of the corporations that have dug their nails into our country. That's all you do. You abandoned our Commonwealth. You abandoned our Anzacs. You ignore the line of authority that comes from that. You ignore this United Kingdom of Australia forged by our Anzacs. You ignore the oath of allegiance in that lineage. None of you know what you're doing. And it's an abomination and a disappointment to all Australians that we watch as you empty parliaments and have no one to vote. You play against each other. I'd like to know why Tony Abbott ran out of the parliament over the Craig Thomson affair, given that Tony Abbott was the one that appointed Michael Lawler. I'd like to know what Michael Lawler's deal is, given that Michael Lawler affected my life. This becomes real to the people you harm, Jackie Lambie, Andrew Wilkie, Attorney General. This comes down to the way you treat Australians, legislators. You don't work for us, and it's time now for you to be honest about this fact. It's time now to tell everybody that you are banking legislators created and formed a constitution in 1973 to imitate who we are. It's disgusting. So, Attorney General, you stood up with 17. You stood up over land title. You stood up over Crown Resorts. Are you going to tell these people about the truth underneath that Crown title? We have a wonderful woman in the Northern Territory, Carolyn, that owns and has run a climbing centre in a oil silo that was left over from World War II. Shall we go into the history of this World War II oil silo that was taken from a family and their home destroyed so it could be there in the first place? Shall we go through the 10 owners of land title back to the true Crown? And you have a Darwin City Council trying to undermine a woman's business where she put in an obligation for 50 years to the people of the Northern Territory by signing a 50-year lease. And you allow a government to come and undermine that when they have no intention of using this silo. They have no intention of having plans to refurbish the area around the silo. The federal government owns the Northern Territory, so the federal government has plans that it's put before, 25 years ahead. The silo doesn't factor into any of them. The Darwin City Council put plans forward 10 years. That silo doesn't factor into any of them. So you've budgeted for 25 years and that silo doesn't come into any of it. And now you have a council that's trying to undermine a woman who's run a charity in the Northern Territory for the last 25 years, and you're threatening the next 25 years of her life when you have no intentions or budget to use that silo. So for the Mayor of Darwin, what have you done? You signed a document which featured a common seal sealed by the CEO. You did not use a royal seal. You did not use the seal in your capacity as Lord Mayor. You allowed a corporate entity with an ABN number to use a common seal of a company to remove a long-standing member of your community from their business. That's what you did. Are you corrupt? Because I asked you for your oath, you've been silent. Your entire council knows who I am, and you've been silent. So we return back to the federal parliament. Jackie, Andrew, the rest of the 15 that stood up with you, including the Attorney General, when are you going to address the real problem that's in this country? The IMF, the United Nations, and the citizenship you all gave us. When are you going to address the oath of allegiance that you took to enter a parliament and prove to the people of this country that you have the line of right to that parliament? Because I'm telling you flat out, you don't. I'm telling you flat out that you don't fall in the lineage of our Anzac. I'm telling you flat out, you don't follow Bible law. I'm telling you flat out, you are foreign to our Constitution. None of you have ever responded, ever. Ever. 10 years now, I asked Quinton Bryce, I asked that Jesuit Peter Cosgrove, who sat in office going against the Act of Settlement 1700, the Bill of Rights 1688, the Constitution July 1900, and Letters Patent 1900. We let a man sit in office who headed an Australian Defence Force not in link to the Anzac. And we're blind to this. And you want to accept this. The choice comes now. You start looking at the oath. You start looking at the line of authority to our Anzac. The choice comes now. These people know who they are. These people know that you're not them. These people know what Gough Whitlam did is a fraud to them and among them. So address it. It's time. It's time to address it. You ruined my life. Time to address it. You're ruining other people's lives. Time to address it. You're ruining my country. Time to address it. You ruined the spirit of my people. Time to address it. Do you understand? It's time to address it.